Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7, New Orleans. Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm really excited about today's guest because she has been a friend and inspiration for quite a while. And I was looking forward to having this conversation, and I was thinking about how conversations don't happen and situations as I've gotten older where, I wanted to have conversations, but wasn't sure who to have. And then grateful to have friends that I could turn to. And definitely my guest today was one of those friends in reinsuring. And, just through conversation, felt that maybe we could have this as a show and inspire other people to have conversations, right? As we're navigating different stages in our life. So without further ado, I'm just going to read her bio for you guys. So we are welcoming my guest, Lynda Earle, to the show. And in Lynda's words, I am a student, a teacher, a seeker, a healer, a creative. I am fire, courage, strength, compassion, and love. I am everything and nothing at all, a divine work in progress. I live my life unapologetically authentic. My purpose is to show people that they can too. We are magnificent beings with unlimited potential. We can all heal from anything. I know because I've done it, and you can too. Oel Ngati Kameie, which is I see you. And we're going to see you in a second. We'll just bring you up onto the stage. Hi, Lynda.
Hello, honey.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. And you pronounced it right. You were worried that you wouldn't be able to say that saying.
Yeah.
Look at that. You did it.
Well, there's some hesitation. Ngati.
Well, Ngati Kameie. I see you. It's from the movie Avatar.
Yeah. Hi, Julie. Hi, Deborah. Thank you for being here. I've watched it, and I saw that, and I know that, you get goosebumps when you see that part, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that movie.
Hi, Heather. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Deborah, for the compliment. It's honestly probably the first day where I have felt back to normal since Christmas. I was so sick over the holidays.
Yeah. You were for almost a month.
Yep, almost a month. And I know my granddaughter was sick again today, so her and I were both sort of down and out through the holidays. It was not good. Yeah. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for joining us.
See, I don't see what's coming up for who's.
Oh, here,
I don't see
here.
it.
We're just gonna do so that you can see people.
Oh, there we go. That's cool.
And Deborah was on last week as well too. Heather Frost is just saying hello.
Okay, so we have to give Heather a shout out because she's my work buddy. And she's the one that's been helping me all week saying, oh my gosh, Lynda, you got to put something behind you. You got to do this. You got to do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, super supportive. So good shout out to her. She's been awesome. And she's a good friend. Same with Michelle. She's a work friend as well. All excited.
Thanks for joining us, Joanna. Hi. Thank you very much for the compliment, Joanna. Right back at you, Michelle. We love you too.
Michelle. We love you too.
Hi, Jackie. So Jackie White is just saying hi. They're excited to join in this conversation.
Yeah, I can see it now. It's coming up on my screen. Oh, she has 3 kitties just like I do. I love other cat lovers.
Hi, Paul. Paul is joining us from the Napanee, Ontario.
Very cool.
Area. Yeah, I was thinking about I titled this show Maiden, Mother, Crone.
Right.
And I wanted to, and it's just about stages of life, right? But just get in here. Heather saying Haha, well, you're the best, and payback for being an amazing patient teacher.
I taught her how to make soap recently.
Oh, you also taught me how to make soap.
I did. Gosh, yeah, I forgot we did that.
Yes, we did. And actually, I think it's just, I was thinking I would want to do it again, actually.
And have it turn out right this time.
Yeah.
You were, because you were the only student I ever had in all the times I've taught that workshop where the soap went south, just all of a sudden. And I still remember you saying to me, is it supposed to look like this, Lynda? And I was like, no, something's gone horribly wrong here.
And
but I also knew you didn't care, right? I knew you were like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's all good. It was because I had such a fun time in the soap making workshop and you're such a great teacher and you are super patient. So, I mean, I would love to do it again. And it was more just about hanging out and really learning about it. But it's, I just wanted to go back to doing
and it has to be fun, right? If it's not fun, it's not worth doing it. If it's
That's
not
right.
fun.
And my mom's pain now a little bit as well too, because my
Is
mom,
because your mom's a beautiful quilter.
She's very creative. She's definitely very creative and talented. I think that she struggles taking ownership of that and really claiming it and stepping into her power.
Yeah.
But my mom tried to teach me how to sew, and I actually, it was a memory that came up on Facebook today of a pair like curtain things that I had made.
Yeah.
And I had measured them, sewed them. I was just so proud of these things. I couldn't wait, and I hung them up, and they were still freaking crooked. I can't cut a straight line.
No, me either.
If I draw, like, it's just everything goes sideways. It doesn't matter what I do.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I can't do any of that stuff either. It's knowing what you can do, right? And accepting that there's some stuff you just can't. It's not your jam.
No, right? And that's why we're all different and everybody's got their own.
That's right. Everybody has their niche, right?
That's right.
For sure.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, my Dana. I love Dana. Hi, Dana.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah, it's from my, no, I'm not going to read it because it'll make me cry. So
nope. I'm going to read it then. Lori Boga saying, I'm here and I love you, Lynda.
These are all my friends that are chiming in, right? So God bless them.
Yep. Yeah. And this is what it's about. It's about community. And we were talking about that. Women supporting women.
Yes.
And I mean, we definitely, I know that I titled this segment, Maiden, Mother, Crone, and Navigating Life Systems. But I think if we looked at the male versions again, too, if we needed to, then to include that in the conversations, it's the hooded one, the horned one, and, the elder or the sage. The old one, if we looked at it that way as well, too. It's not just about women. It's
it includes men as well. Women have lost that sense of community in some ways, though, that men never have, right? No. Guys still hang out in their garages and do guy stuff, but women kind of stopped doing that, and they need to go back to creating that community. Women used to always do food preserving together. They would quilt together.
Quilts.
Right. That was a big thing that you sat and helped do a quilt. And it was about spending time in community. It wasn't about sitting around and gossiping. It was just about sharing space together and doing, a craft or helping each other put food away for the winter. We've stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And then we wonder why when we hit 50, right, that we don't have like-minded people in our lives at that point. So we have to go search for them.
Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. I am doing well in your bi-yearly reading. Well, okay. So you're going to, that's great that you want to do your bi-yearly reading, and we can certainly book that in. I'm just letting you know, though, I'm currently booking in November of 2024 right now.
Oh my gosh.
I know, I'm super humbled by that. It's really crazy. In such a beautiful, humbling way, for sure.
Yeah, that is amazing. That is wonderful. Aw, Dana, I just love you.
Thank you for being here. And that I wanted to include in intuition and fostering intuition into the conversation as well too. And trusting our intuitive selves and moving through those life stages. And it really does. When you hit, you're moving out of that mothering, that nurturing stage and moving into Crone, you really do.
It's huge changes.
And those questions, come up. Who am I? What do I need?
And who am I now?
Yes.
Right? When you become an empty nester and your kids grow up and leave home, it's who am I now? Because that phase of my life and mothering children, they've flown the coop, right? You have to reevaluate who you are and things that you've probably, swallowed down, not being 100% who you really are, right? So when you hit the Crone phase, you become very aware that you don't want to do that anymore. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You don't have to be loved and liked by everybody.
Do you think that's the Crone stage, or do you think that's the end of the mother stage? Because I kind of feel it's like
depends.
The end of the mother stage and moving into.
It's pretty much the end of mother stage. So sort of the end of the mother stage heading into Crone.
Yeah.
Like I would say 40, from about 40, 45 and up, because at that point for most women, their children are older, maybe not fully out of the house yet, depending on when you had your kids, but they're older, they're more independent. And then you have, and you may not be running to hockey games and stuff as much anymore because they're able to do that on their own. So then you're reevaluating again, who am I?
Yeah.
They don't need me the same way that they did before. So you have to start to really figure out who you are, how you want to be, and who you want to hang out with.
I was one of those moms though with my kids, because I have four kids now. Like my oldest, we have so much in common. That's why we're soul family, right? We're soul family. So
we're kindred spirits.
Totally, soul family, and we find each other. Hi, Howie. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for sharing.
And we've had very similar life experiences. Like we've had a lot of very similar life experiences, which is how I think you end up finding your tribe, right?
Yeah. Hi, Sue. Thank you for being here. And yes, you are right. Lori, Lynda is also a great reader.
Who does not do it anymore.
Who's not wanting to. Yeah.
Who's not wanting to.
Yeah.
That's right.
Moving on to different things. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, my Tracy.
Soul
Tracy
family
was my glam squad today.
And I do feel, Howie and I have had these conversations as well too, that Howie is part of the Rift Nation. So if you want to check out his network and all the great shows that he has on over there. And we were talking about this, that you hit this stage and your tribe seems to,
you go looking for your tribe. Yeah.
Well, and I think that if you are open and you are taking accountability and integrity and working in your lane,
they show up.
It shows up naturally.
They just show up. Yeah, there's no coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. It's divine synchronicity. So when you hit that phase of not being so concerned with what everyone else thinks and being more authentically yourself, your tribe finds you. I actually have a coffee mug that says "Stay weird so your tribe can find you," because your tribe can't find you, your soul family can't find you if you're not being yourself. If you're not being fully authentic, then you're not attracting the people to you that are meant for you. You're continuing to attract the wrong ones, right?
All right. So let's, I always do this though. Let's come back around to, if you're not being authentic, then what does authentic mean? And you're right, Howie, yes, they do come together. We'll just do a quick shout out to Phil. Thank you, Phil, for joining us today. And Loretta is here too. Hi, Loretta. That's fabulous. Jackie's here too. Right. I agree with you, Lori, that Lynda is one of the most beautiful, authentic people.
Took a long time. And I'd like to say too, it took a long time to get there. That didn't happen overnight. It happened. It's like peeling an onion, right? You peel back a layer at a time. But the older I got and the more life experience I gained, the easier, I guess it was, to just be fully authentic, right? Because I didn't need to have 50 friends. I didn't need to have a great big circle of acquaintances. It was just kind of a flow where I could just be who I was, because if you weren't my people, I didn't want to hang out with you anyway. You know what I mean? So you kind of let go of that expectation of having a whole bunch of friends. It's not about that at that point anymore, because I don't want to spend my time being someone I'm not. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Right? We do it when we're young, like we do it all. I
No.
mean, look at when we're teenagers, right? Everybody's trying to
Yeah.
fit in, everybody's trying to be something. We
Yeah.
do it a fair amount in the mother phase too, where where our goal is our children, so we can often lose ourselves and pretend to be something we're not. By the time you hit the crone phase, it's too exhausting. To try to be somebody you're not takes so much energy instead of just being yourself.
Well, and we move from being selfless to selfish, and selfish in
Yeah.
a positive way, with having those healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
and where we're
Which
willing or
really
not willing
isn't.
to give our energy away
That's
anymore.
right. And for me, that's not being selfish. That's looking after me first. In order for me to be of service,
Yeah.
right, which is truly what most of us are on a path to.
Yeah.
If we do this type of work, that's our purpose, is to be of service to others. So I have to be of service to myself first. I have nothing to give anyone if I'm empty.
Yeah.
So, and it's not just about, fill your bucket, fill your cup. It needs to be overflowing in order for you to have enough to give to other people. So
Yeah.
you have to look after you first. And when you can do that, then you can share it, right?
Yeah. Okay, I'm going Aaliyah, if it's Aaliyah. Is it Leah? Aaliyah? My sister's middle name is
She's from
Lee.
Alaska.
From Alaska. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm glad that
Oh,
you found us as well too. So thank you for being a part of the conversation. Um, we'll just catch up a little bit.
oh, my
Oh,
buddy Lori. She is my soul sister, I'll tell you.
so Lori
Just
is just
love her.
sharing that she's taught me to love myself so I could be authentic. Howie
Yeah,
is just chiming in. True, true, true.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Danielle's saying
Hello,
hello.
Danielle.
Tracy.
Not quantity, but quality of friends. Isn't that the truth? It really is about quality, not quantity.
Do you want to read? Mary Jo, thank you for joining
Oh,
us.
yeah.
It's the sisters' night tonight. Jackie and Loretta are joining us in as well
Oh,
too. So
nice.
she's saying, "Hi guys, absolutely, your tribe finds you. I have an incredible tribe that keeps me expanding
Expanding,
and accept
accepting.
me, just for me and me for them." And
Yeah.
it's also about holding each other accountable
Yes,
in a
telling each
loving
other the
way.
truth. Yeah, in a
Yeah,
very loving way. And the person being able to receive that without it coming, without them feeling it's criticism, because it's not. It's everybody has their own path. I'm always very honest with my friends, but
yeah,
again, in a very loving way. And I'm always the first one to say, it's not my path to walk, it's yours. I'm just telling you sort of what what I see
as
in
an
this in
observer.
this in this scenario. What you do with it, that's up to you,
And
right?
it's
It's not
coming
for me to
from
say.
like high intention, low attachment.
That's right.
The intention's always coming from the highest source
Yeah,
of love and good
that's
intention and
right.
gratitude, but
Yeah, yeah,
no expectation and no attached end outcome to it. Heather
that's
is
right.
just asking, do you find at this stage you are more picky?
Oh, you bet. I am so
Yeah.
picky, very picky. Because again, and I'm not being mean when I say it, I don't want to waste my time in the crone phase. You're in the third act, so you know that you have limited number of years till the end of your life. You don't want to spend it doing things you don't want to do. Like, I know a lot of people will say, oh, say yes to everything, say yes to everything. I say no to everything,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're asking, unless it's
Yes.
something I want to do, right? Unless
Yeah.
it's something I want to do. But if someone says to me, oh, a whole bunch of us are going shopping, do you want to come? It's a hard no. No, don't want to.
So
Doesn't interest me.
I still struggle with no's.
Yeah,
What I have gotten better at is so I need to say I'm in the process of becoming better at saying no. I'm in the
yeah.
process of it.
It's hard.
But
It's really hard to
it
do.
is. But
Yeah,
what I have gotten better at is saying I need to sit with this. I need to sit with it, and I
yeah.
can get back to you, and then
Yeah,
getting
what
back
I
to you.
learned to
So,
do, because I used to be the person that would say, "Oh yes, yes, I'd love to go," and because I'm an introverted extrovert, if
yeah.
somebody asked me 3 weeks in advance, "Do you want to go do this?" I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in," and then the day before, I'd be like, "Oh God, I don't want to go." So I would always struggle with being caught between the two. So now I've learned, if it's something I might be on the fence about, I'll say, leave it with me for 24 hours and I'll get back to you with an answer.
Yeah.
And I'm also very kind. If someone says to me, do you want to go do this? It's not just no, it's just like, it's really not something I'm interested in doing. But, you know, if you do something different another time, I might be interested. Like, don't wipe me off your plate, but I'm not interested in doing this.
And as we move into those, you know, this stage of the game, if we're moving out of mother into crone, or out of, you know, horned into elder, that we learn to not take those statements personally, because it's not personal.
It's never personal. And it's also important to relay it in a loving way so that the other person doesn't feel that you're just constantly ditching them, right? And most people that know me well enough to be considered sort of in my friend circle, they don't take offense to that, because they know me well enough to know that it's not personal. And it's, you know, I don't do big crowds, so I don't like going and doing, you know, something with, and people saying to me, oh, well, there's 30 of us going all together right away. No, don't want to do that, right? Because I'm also very protective of my energy. And when you're out doing a lot of that stuff, it's very hard on your energy. So, and I use shopping as the example because it's the best one for me, because I can't do malls, right? If I'm in a mall, I can last maybe an hour and the energy is so intense, I have to leave. So I now automatically will just say, yeah, that's really not what I'm interested in doing today. So it's easier.
Thank you, Erin. Thanks for following me on this journey and making me a part of yours. Kathy is just saying hello.
Nice. Bless you. Oh, bless you too. Oh, that's my mama. That's my daughter, my oldest daughter.
So let's read it out, Melissa McIntyre.
She's being funny because she says, I chose you. My daughter and I.
No, it's true though.
Yes, it is true. And so she's poking fun at me because for years we would go back and forth. I love you. I love you more. No, I love you more. No, I love you more. So I said to her one day, I explained to her that basically you picked me, right? So now when I say to her, I love you more, she'll go, oh, remember, I picked you. And then she wins, right? She wins the debate over who loves you more.
When my kids were teenagers and I would say, just remember you chose me, and how are you liking that choice now?
How you loving it?
Yeah. How's that feeling?
Especially in the teens, I used to say to them, you might want to start journaling some of this stuff that happens between us, because parenting is just, you know, it's such, you're flying blind, and especially with teenagers. So I would tell my kids, just write it down, because then when you go to therapy in your 20s and 30s, you can skip that first initial consult with your therapist. You can just hand them the book and go, here it is. This is everything that my mother damaged me with, right? Because it is what it is.
Well, and we're learning and we're unlearning, and there's just so much, you know, to it. And depending on where you are at, like if you have a spiritual path, if you're consciously aware, if you're not, like there's just so many things.
There's so many factors involved, and there's no, you know, for all we say that there's a million books written on how to raise children, there really isn't. You're still flying blind half the time. I actually just listened to a woman who wrote a book on conscious parenting, and her name escapes me now, but she made a very good point that when you're parenting your children, parent yourself first. You know, when you're dealing with a situation with your kids, parent yourself first, and you'll be better able to guide them, right?
And that's when because that was where it all started for me, right? Was
with your kids.
I had a parenting radio show, a spiritual parenting radio show for parenting kids that were intuitive, and the parenting workshop. And it you know, for the longest time, it was the most requested one. And my kids used to say, like, I can't believe that you get to teach somebody how to parent. But it was accountability, and it was trusting your intuition. Is this my stuff that you're upset? Or are you projecting that on me? Is this my stuff or your stuff? And I would tell them, like, my job is to facilitate independence, you know, so that
to help you learn to fly, That's my
Yes.
job, is to teach you to
Yeah.
fly and then
And
let you go do it.
and understanding, and it took me a long time. Well, yeah, I shouldn't say that it took me a long time. I mean, my oldest was probably 8 at the time that I was figuring it out, and he's 30 now. So it was understanding that things that were happening, the experiences that were happening with them when I felt triggered were hitting old wounds and
Yes.
places that I need to look at why I was feeling this
Yeah.
way. Why wasn't I feeling like a good mom, or why was I feeling
Yeah.
defensive?
What was that?
Why did I
Where was
respond
that
this
coming
way?
from? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
like you
feeling
said,
okay with that.
it can trigger your own childhood damage and generational damage as well, because we also carry the damage of our parents, right? So, and the therapist, the notes for the teen years. Well, my kids didn't laugh, Jackie. They didn't think I was very funny
No,
back then.
mine either.
Yeah.
How is sharing shadow
Yeah.
work.
Well, that's some of that when you're parenting is doing your own shadow work, right?
But I
Uh,
wouldn't have recognized it as shadow work until a little bit older. I would
yeah.
say like my son, when I started my oldest son, so I would say 8 when I was like, kind of he would have been about 8. And then when he was in his teen years, 15 is when I really stepped into taking ownership
Right.
of my intuition and taking ownership of who I was, unlearning a lot of things. That's when I
Yeah.
started to dig deep. And that was like, 37. I was about 37. I was just leading up to that year
Yeah.
40, right?
Yeah, it's the truth too. Like when I look back to I had my children very young. So I mean, I was a grandmother at 42. Um, I was in survival mode all the time that I was parenting.
Oh,
Um,
it was,
so to,
yeah,
like constant survival mode. So that's why I used to say to them, write it down, just add it to the list of things that I didn't do well, because you're trying to deal with your own damage and do your own healing work that maybe hasn't even started yet.
yeah.
My true healing work didn't start till after that. Like
Mm.
the biggest chunk of it came later, right?
Yeah,
So,
the same for me. I would, yeah, I'll be 53 this summer, so I would say 43 is around when things really
yeah.
kind of started getting there too.
Yeah. See, my entire life changed at 43.
So,
It's funny that that's the same as it was for you. Different things maybe,
mhm.
but yeah, my whole
So
life changed.
when I had Taylor, I was 21.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm saying like he was in his teen years when I was really starting to.
Yeah. And it also depends on the age. Your children are all very different. And if
Well,
there's age gaps between them, that makes it more challenging. And you can't always parent each child exactly the same way, because what works with one might not work with another. It's not an easy road to navigate. I have great empathy for young parents right now, because I think it's even harder now than it was when I raised my kids. There's so many more challenges that they have to meet because of what's going on in the world, right?
did your kids have intuitive experiences that they would talk about as
No,
small children? So
no.
mine had huge,
See, and when
uh,
I was at that stage of my
really
life,
pushing me.
I was completely blocked. I had shut it down. I had had experiences when I was a child and up into my teen years, and then I completely locked it down.
Mhm.
And it didn't resurface until I was close to 40. So probably
Wow.
like my mid 30s, I started having things happen that made me question, and made me start to want to learn and open that up. But by then, my kids, some of my children were fully grown and out the door. Only my youngest son was still home, right? So, and he just would say, "Yeah, you're kind of weird, Mom. You're just, whatever blows your hair back."
That's so
um,
funny.
so yeah, it was a lot later for me that I let that open back up and started to trust it.
Yeah,
A lot
my
later.
my kids were so aware when they were young and
Yeah,
saying things that really had to push me,
yeah.
to
My
just
kids
accept
tell
who I
me
was.
my kids tell me now things that they've experienced. Like my oldest daughter, Melissa, she sees stuff, but it terrifies her, right? So there's lots of times we've actually taught her, between me and you, that because Spirit, her, you know, her grandmother and stuff comes to her all the time. So I've taught her how to create boundaries with Spirit, you know, that you can say, I'd love you to come and visit, but you can't come in my bedroom. I need to sleep at night. I'm tired. So she's very, very open to that. And she's had lots of experiences. So is my oldest son. My oldest son is incredibly intuitive.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not he'll ever do anything with that is always dependent on our level of fear. Right. If fear gets in our way, then we block all that stuff out.
Yeah, we totally do.
Yeah.
Mary Jo is just sharing it. It is harder. I have so much empathy. It's harder having
Oh,
children
I do
now.
too.
I
I've
have so much empathy for my kids raising their kids now
kids.
in their
Yeah.
teens.
Because again, they face so much stuff that, you know, we didn't face as parents and our parents didn't either. The world is a much different place and there's so much they have to do in dealing with their kids and a lot of challenges. I wouldn't want to be a young parent right now. And again, because of so much media and scrutiny, that fear of not being a good enough parent. Yeah, see, I get Loretta. I was so afraid of screwing up motherhood that I chose not to have children. I totally understand that.
At the same time, though, from my experience, like that mother stage is not about birthing children. It's a nurturing stage,
That's
and
right.
uh, and I find from my observation and experience that those who do not have children are still nurturing
Oh,
so many other
absolutely.
people that they are
Yeah,
pulled with the same amount of energy in 18 different
exactly.
directions,
Yeah, exactly. And
supporting
again,
everyone else.
there's many parents that don't know how that do parenting, that know how to do many things, but nurturing may not be one of them. If you weren't
Yeah,
nurtured as a child, it's very difficult then to know how to nurture your children. It's the same as knowing how to protect
yeah.
them. If nobody protected you, then you don't have that. It's almost like a strand in your DNA that you just don't have that ability to do that with your own children if it was not there for you, right?
So that's where the triggering and the pushes come.
Yeah.
So I mean, not that, and it takes a while, and that's where you have to learn to forgive yourself
That's
and
right. That
be
takes your
okay.
lifetime. Yeah, that
Yes,
takes your it really does take your lifetime. That
because
you just keep moving. It's like I said about being an onion and you peel it back in layers. Your healing work is exactly the same because you can't do it all at once.
no,
Oh, listen to my daughter. You did amazing. Um,
we're all learning daily, and that's
Daily.
right.
That
We
is,
we do
she's bang on.
continuously for our
My
whole life.
my beautiful daughter is wicked smart, but you do it in layers because your soul and your day-to-day life, you need breaks from it. So you peel a bunch of the onion back and you do a bunch of healing work, and then you have to have a break from it, you know,
Yeah,
and then something else will happen in your life and it's like, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board and peel the next layer. But we're not necessarily meant to do it all at once. And I've told my
no,
kids that when it comes to partners. I've always said that about love relationships, you know, we learn stuff in layers. So maybe the first serious relationship we had went south and it was all kinds of things wrong with it. The next one will be similar, but there'll be stuff missing. It takes several tries
yeah. I
to
have a
do all
thought.
that, right?
Yeah, I have a thought about that. I just gonna share. Joyce, thank you for hanging out with us. Um, she's saying Ken and I just talked about that today. Would not want to be raising
Yeah,
kids today.
no,
Life
I
when we
agree.
were kids was much more
Life was
simpler.
much
And
simpler. You came home when the lights came on,
yeah, I
right?
don't. I lived in the
Basically,
middle of nowhere, so
yeah,
we
Joyce gets that because I was a child in the 70s. We were feral, right? There was we didn't want our parents watching every move we made because and they couldn't either. They were busy working and stuff. So you learned a lot quicker how to fend for yourself and how to be independent.
Yeah, well, I mean, we learned independence. I learned independence in a different way, but I grew up in the middle of nowhere, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like, I mean, we were out on our bicycles and we were
Yeah, you had to go
in
figure
the
it out.
fields and
My parents never once as a child did they ever entertain me. Ever.
no.
That wasn't considered a parent's job. It was like get outside, go play, go find something to do, right?
And
Um,
that's funny. I made I do that morning porch post on Facebook every day,
yeah.
and well, Monday to Friday I do. Sometimes on the weekends, but not. I give myself a break. But I made a post today because I had my granddaughter, and she couldn't go to daycare because she was sick. So my Queenie duties kicked in. and I made a post about it that, just sort of that cycle repeating itself, because
Yeah.
my grandma used to watch me, and,
Yeah.
how special that was. And now I was having this day with her. And I asked people, do you have any of those sick day sort of memories as a child? And somebody had commented that her grandmother was the one that used to watch her, and her grandmother used to make her polish all the dishes and silverware on her sick days.
Free labor.
You're a child of the 70s and 80s
free labor. Yeah, free labor. Oh, and if you were sick,
suck it up, because there's chores to do.
That's right. When I was a kid too, if you were sick, if you were so sick that you couldn't go to school, you were not allowed out of bed.
Yeah.
Right? There was no watching TV or getting better by about noon. You were in bed, so it wasn't worth it. Like to fake being sick was not a joyride at all, right?
No.
Now for the kids it is, especially if there's a grandparent, right? Because I did the same thing last year. My youngest grandson is 8. And when Val was in school last year, the schedules were really crazy for her. So I had him a couple days a week where I took him to school in the mornings. And he would often try that. Oh, I don't feel good, Grandma. I think I need to stay home. And it was because he loved hanging out with me. He didn't want to go to school if he was going to miss a chance to hang out with me for the day, right? And my response to all of that is do it while you can, because once they grow up a little bit, then they don't want to.
Yeah. Did you have, I had mental health days with my kids, like every once in a while, just because
just keep them home.
We had so much stress and upheaval, and we had just so much going on that every once in a while it was like, we're just going to have a mental health day and
stay home.
Have fun and play.
Yeah. And I think adults need to do it too, even when they're past parenting, is that, you know what, life is hard sometimes. And some days you just don't want to be an adult, and you don't want to have to go to work or go outside. You want to lay on the couch and eat chocolate and cry and watch movies. And I think everybody needs that. I think that's very positive to do stuff like that, that it's, you're not being an unenlightened person if you feel really negative about something and you need a chance to process and invent it, right? Or I always say I used to have pity parties, right? If something in my life was really, or I had a bad day or something was going on, I would let myself have a pity party, and I'd put a time limit on it.
We had a peace corner.
Yeah. So I would say to myself, okay, you can have a pity party, and it stops at 3:00 today.
Yeah.
So then I'd, turn Oprah on, and I'd sit and eat chocolate, and I'd cry, whatever. It was always her reunion shows too, right? I'd sit and cry along with all the reunited family people, and I'd eat some more chocolate. And then at 3:00, I'd go, okay, well, enough of that. Time to get back to the real world and get back to doing stuff. It's okay to give yourself permission to do all of that.
Yeah. In whatever way works for you.
Yeah, whatever way works. Everybody's different, right?
Yeah. Anita is just sharing exactly. My grandson always
wants to be with me too. And I tell new grandparents all the time, enjoy like every single second of it, because you only get about 12 years, 10 to 12 years with your grandbabies before they get busy, right? They have their own little social lives and doing their own, and then they don't want to hang out with grandma anymore.
But they're in that expanding and
they're doing what they're supposed to do. So that first 10 years or so, that's when you create the memories with them. And it's not even that you need to spend a lot of money on them or buy them a lot of stuff. It's creating those memories. Like my oldest granddaughter, Callista, she's 14 now. When she was 2.5, like I would take my grandkids as much as I could for sleepovers. There didn't need to be a reason. So I had made her a bedtime picnic on, a really pretty big tray, and her little juice and her treats and her snacks and her popcorn, because we were going to watch a movie in bed. She was so excited. She was vibrating. She was like, Grandma, I've never had a bedtime picnic before, right? That's the stuff they remember. They don't remember what you bought them for Christmas, right? Because they don't care.
Tracy's just sharing, I did the same, and we would call them pajama days.
Yeah.
My kids love them. They still talk about them.
And Tracy's got lovely children. She's got the greatest kids. Same with Heather. She has great girls.
Do you want to read her comment?
Heather's saying, I gave my girls 1 or 2 days a year they can take off, no questions asked. They used it wisely. Yeah.
And this is the thing. If you are giving your kiddos, when they understand that there are consequences, and there's consequences for their choices and their actions, there's no need for a whole lot of rules, because they just sort of they know.
Yeah, I would always say to my children too sometimes, you know, before you go do that, before you go do something silly and you're a teenager, so of course you're going to do a lot of silly things. Ask yourself, is it going to be, is it going to be something you can talk about at Christmas dinner in front of your grandparents?
Mm.
Because if the answer to that is no, you might want to rethink it.
I had taught my kids very well. I guess Brooklyn would have been about 8, and to really tap into their intuition, right?
Yeah,
Sorry, we're
trust your
just
gut. Trust your gut
and what does
intuition.
that feel like? So if you lean into it, does this
Yeah,
feel like
how
the
does
right
that
choice?
feel? Yeah,
Right choice for you, or does it not?
yeah.
And
Does it
my
make your
second,
stomach roll? Right?
that's
All of
right.
that sort of gut reaction. If you have that reaction, you need to pay attention and ask, what is it I'm being shown? Like, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Right?
Mary Jo is just sharing. It's the feeling you create, not the money you spend.
That is
So true.
absolutely the truth. Mind you, I really love spending money on my grandchildren too. I have a lot of fun with that.
Joyce is just sharing, and when you lose a grandchild, spending time
Time with
with
the
the
others
others becomes
becomes,
even more
oh
precious.
my gosh,
This,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Or if your for many people, their grandchildren live far away,
yeah.
so they don't get to see them a lot. I don't know how they do it, right? Like up until a couple years ago, all my grandchildren lived in the same city as I do. So it's hard when they move far away because you just don't have that same connection to them that you did, right?
My second oldest son has, I share this story every once in a while about that tapping into your intuition. And
Yeah.
he was a teenager, and he's like, he was always the one that would say, "You remember that thing you taught me?" And I'm like, I know I'm in to hear something
Yeah.
good. He's
Yeah.
like, "You remember that thing you taught me?" And I said, "Which thing, Ryan?" And he's like, "That thing about leaning in and asking your intuition or asking your spirit how it feels about something." And I was like, "Yeah, tell me what you did." And he said, "Well, I leaned in and I asked my spirit if going to this party was going to be the right thing for me,"
Yeah.
which is what I wanted them to do, right? Lean
Yes.
in, because
Yeah.
sometimes it's going to say yes, sometimes it's going to say no.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
he's like, and I got a clear don't go. And I said, "And what did you do?" And he's like, "I went." Now,
And then what happened?
the backstory to this is he's so musically gifted. So he was
Oh,
living 8 hours away from me, going to a program similar to Glee. Like, so he was
yeah. Oh my
recording,
gosh. Yeah.
producing, touring. He was, high school, and this cutie patootie blonde boy,
Yeah.
rocking out. And so he did his tap in. He did his tap in, said, "Don't go to the party." And Ryan went. And I said, "So then what was the end result,
What
Ryan?"
happened?
And
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, somebody started a fire in a field, and then the police got called and the
Yeah.
fire
It
trucks."
went south. It
And
went
I'm like,
south.
"What did you do?" And he's like, "I ran faster than everybody else." It's
Yeah.
like, I just got out of
Yeah.
there really fast. But when you teach your kids from an early age, and if you learn it yourself at whatever age,
That's
when
right.
you learn to tap into your intuition,
And trust that.
even hard decisions will make you feel light, and
Yep.
it helps you create a magical life. And if your
Yep.
children learn to trust their intuition over somebody else's
It's the
opinion,
same. Yes, absolutely.
then they
Yeah.
don't run into those
Well, and even in Ryan's situation where he did tap in and ask
situations.
himself, and it was a hard no, don't go, and he did it anyway.
Yeah.
So there's also beauty in that because the next time that situation would have come about, his intuition would go, "Remember last time, Ryan? Remember last
Yeah.
time when you didn't listen to me? Remember?"
Yeah.
Right?
And he
Because
never did.
that's part of the learning too, is that
Yeah.
you have to experience some of that in order to fully trust, right?
That's right.
Anytime we don't trust our intuition, things usually will go south. It's pretty much a guarantee, right?
Yeah.
In some way, especially if we're getting really strong messaging not to do something and we don't listen.
And it just the more we do it, um
The more you trust it.
exactly, that's
Yeah.
exactly. The more you trust it,
Yeah.
and the more you receive, like the more you understand what your intuitive voice sounds
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how your intuition is working for you. So you don't
That's right.
necessarily have so many
Or when you
bumps.
ask, right? When you're asking your intuition to guide you in a direction. I always had amazing experiences happen with that too, right? Where I would be think I had when I had my flower shop, we used to do a event every year. It was called Pay It Forward, right? So I would buy thousands of roses. You could come into my store, you would get a dozen. It didn't cost you a dime. We would ask you if you wouldn't mind to make a donation to Big Brothers. But then the gift of it was you're to keep one and give the other 11 away to total strangers, right? Or
Nice.
to friends. It's about building community and building friendship and stuff like that. So we had done it for 3 or 4 years. It was a great big success. So the next year was coming around and people were coming in the shop and asking me, are you doing it? Are you doing it? Because I always did it in September. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I put it out to because a part of me was like, I don't know, do we need to keep doing it? Sometimes fundraisers have like a lifespan that ends. So I said, okay, I need a sign. If I'm supposed to do this event again this year, let me know, right? Give it up to my team, right? I get up the next morning. I typically didn't turn the TV on that early in the morning because it was the middle of the night. Pay It Forward, the movie, was on TV.
Oh, that's so funny.
I was like, okay, message received, right? So the more you learn how to do that too, you can actually get confirmation of
Quickly.
where your intuition is trying to lead you, right? And then you have to trust that too.
And I think too, yes. So the trust, so asking, trusting, and then, acting on it.
Yeah. It's huge.
Exactly. Acting on it.
Huge.
Sorry, Deborah. I just sort of.
Oh, I love spending time with my grandsons. Yeah. Grandsons are wonderful, especially if you can do sound effects, right? With grandsons, that's really important.
Jocelyn is just sharing my grandson is my biggest joy. And I understand that. My
Oh,
granddaughter, I just have one. And she's 3 and she
And you know what, with every single one, I remember, because my oldest grandchild, he's now 22 years old. And I remember when my daughter was pregnant with her second child, my husband said, do you think that we'll be able to love this new baby the way that we've loved Casey? And I said, oh yeah, your heart just gets bigger. And it really does. Like, it doesn't matter how many grandchildren you have. You feel the same way about all of them. It's wonderful. Oh, he FaceTimes to say goodnight. Oh, how lovely.
Anita is just sharing. My grandson calls me every day before school or after school. So he always FaceTimes me at night to say goodnight.
Oh, how lovely is that? Yeah. And I always tell new grandparents too, record your grandchildren's voices as much as you can. As much as you can. When they do funny little things, record it, because it's hilarious to listen to as they get older. And I still have not a letter. My granddaughter Calista was 5 or 6, and she stayed home from school one day with me, and she wrote a little story in a little notebook that I had about how this was the best day ever because she got to stay at her grandma's, and and her little handwriting and spelling mistakes and stuff. I've always kept it, because to me that's the stuff that's precious.
Deborah is just showing with every farm animal. So those sounds. So Jocelyn is just asking, what sounds are you talking about for grandsons?
Oh,
and it's like if you're the lightsaber from Star Wars.
Yeah, and you've got to be able to do a forklift backing up and a truck back and a helicopter, and sirens. I never ever was able to master, because I'm not good at that stuff, but I couldn't do sirens. My grandsons all could, but if you're good at that kind of stuff, your grandsons will.
And let's be honest, and if all else fails, it's a fart sound. Blowing farts on bellies are like the
always funny. Minions, right? Always funny. Yeah.
Mindfulness yoga with Dee. She is just sharing. I'm almost 47. And it's only been in the last 5 years that I've started listening to my intuitive parts. It has become a game changer for me and how I make choices in life. And again, this is that age bracket.
Yep, that's what I say. 40 and up is when you really start to tap into all of that. If you haven't been doing that your whole life, which some people do, right? Oh, I have the last message my granddaughter left for me on my phone as my ringtone. How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
That's so lovely. Yeah.
Joyce's granddaughter was quite young when she passed away from.
Yeah. I just got that she had already crossed over. Yeah. What a beautiful thing to have from her.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have my grandma's voice. I secretly recorded my grandma.
Do you?
Yeah. And I asked her a whole bunch of questions. And so I have this on my And then, so it was great. So I shared it with family after she
See,
had
and I did
passed.
those recordable storybooks for my grandchildren.
So I talked
Like I
about
did
you last
yours.
week.
Like I
Yeah.
know,
So
like I did yours. That's why it was so easy to do it with you, because I'd already done it.
yeah.
Actually, the only one I haven't done it for yet, and I have one here for him, I just haven't gotten around to doing it, is my youngest grandson, Henry. I need to do one for him.
Right.
But my daughter would tell me all the time, she'd say, "Oh, Mom, Jade sits and listens to it all the time, wants to listen to your voice."
Jocelyn is just sharing. She was laughing and saying he's into
Making the
making the
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
So it's the sounds. And so for those of you that may not have listened or tapped into the show, Deborah Hackett-Jones, who's just making some comments here and joining us in the chat, she was on last week and we were talking about frequency and
Oh, and she was
healing
awesome. I
and
was laughing
vibrations.
so hard. Yeah, she was
And
amazing.
she's a medical intuitive, if you want to go back and check out that
I
episode.
did.
And
I checked that
I
with
was
you.
sharing secret sound and vibration is also voice and
Oh, yeah,
music. And
all of
I
that.
have said to you always, that I loved your voice so much and I wanted you to read me bedtime stories. And then a week later, I got a book
Got the
in the
book.
mail,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you were
I get
reading
told
it.
that on the phone a lot of times too, especially because for many years I always worked in customer service. So I would talk to customers on the phone, and a lot of times, especially men, would say, "Oh my God, you've got the sexiest voice." And I said, "Yeah, and you can't see me because it'd be a huge disappointment for you. So
Oh no,
let
are
go
you
of that."
kidding?
I had one guy tell me once, he said, "You've got a voice like Demi Moore." And I said, "Well, I might, but I certainly don't look like her." And most of us don't like the sound of our own voices, right? Much love.
You're
Yeah,
welcome, Deb. It's always a pleasure. Anytime.
she was fascinating.
Yeah, and I just
Yeah, she
I
was.
know for
And she was
sure.
funny. Like when she made the comment about the tin hat, I was dying. I was just like, "Oh my God, she's my kind of people."
And we find each other.
Yeah.
So I wrote all these little comment notes for us to come back around to. And I wrote when I was thinking about this stage and moving out of mother into crone. I would say full on crone for me now at this point, but it's the depth of our knowledge,
Yeah.
it's resiliency, there's confidence with our wisdom, all
Yeah.
and all
Life
of that.
experience. It's
Yeah,
like,
that strength comes from
yeah. Oh yeah.
time and experience and
That's right.
giving ourselves that grace and ease
And
during that process.
having survived, like having survived the stuff that we've had to go through to get to the crone phase, because everybody has traumas and dramas, and the fact that you survive all of that, it can also give you permission to be that much more authentic, right? That you don't have to keep trying to please everybody, because you won't please anybody, especially if you don't please yourself, right? That you have to live your life your way with no apologies. I don't apologize anymore. I used to, like in my younger years, I would apologize that I was weird and different. Not anymore. It's like, this is it. What you see is what you get.
Heather's just asking what has been the hardest
Part
part.
between each stage for you. I find leaving motherhood has been hard because my kids don't seem to need me. That is hard. That is hard. But as much as that's hard too, Heather, that means you did a great job. Right?
Mm,
When your kids don't need you as much because they're flying solo and they're being successful in whatever they're doing or happy, that just means you did a really good job. But that's where, again, heading into that crone phase, finding tribe, finding your people, having that group of friends and for me, those kind of friends like Heather and Tracy and Michelle and Lori and all the ones that have chimed in tonight, they are my biggest fans, and I am their biggest fans.
right.
That's what
It's
real tribe friendship and community and connection is that we support each other, uplift each other. We're there in a heartbeat. Any one of those women, if I picked up the phone right now and called them, and one's in Calgary and said, "I need you," they'd come. It's that simple. They would come.
it's I would add that it's rediscovering what brings you joy,
Oh, absolutely.
because we put it on hold
Absolutely.
for
We put
so
it all
long.
on hold for our kids. And
Yeah.
plus, again, in that phase of our life when we're young mothers and we're raising kids and working, life is so busy, and we're really just trying to tread water, right? And get through the days. And we're in survival mode. You know, we have to work and pay bills and do all of that stuff. There's no time to look at anything else, right? Until that phase is finished. Tracy's one of my tribe. I love her to death.
Grace is just sharing Lynda is such a great teacher and such a loving soul to those lucky enough to be in her tribe.
And I'm very picky about who's in my tribe. And I don't, yeah, my friend Lori is just saying, yes, I would be there in a heartbeat. She is truly every time if I said I'm having a bad day, her immediate response would be, how can I help? How can I support you? Well, you know, I'm not feeling very well. I might have a cold. Can I bring you some soup? Can I go get you some groceries? And she doesn't live in Woodstock, but she would still do it. That to me is true friendship and true tribe, right? That you are authentically yourself and you're all there for each other. And women especially, we hold up half the sky. We need it as much as men, if not more, because of the fact that we're mothers, right?
Yeah.
It's different.
We started talking. I think that we kind of walked away from it, but I knew that
we knew
our conversation.
We knew it was going to go south.
No, not south at all. But you know, really, I just keep feeling like what authenticity means needs to get hammered home, and it's really understanding what your values are, what your moral compass is.
What your boundaries are,
and feeling okay in every situation to show up that way, show up comfortably in your skin and putting your boundaries into place or speaking your truth, and
that it doesn't have to be done in a like I'm pretty blunt and I'm pretty honest, but I'm also very kind. So I would never deliver a message, you know, of not wanting to do something with a person in a way that would ever be negative, right? But I'm very clear about my boundaries, right? And what I want to do. And I always say, like, I have a morning mantra that I do every morning, and part of it is allow me to meet people where they are in their journey without judgment or opinion. That I can hold space with that person. I don't have to agree with that person. And I can have my boundaries and I can have clear shielding from the negativity, but I can still be in that person's presence, right? And experience whatever that is, because everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
Everybody's is. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. That's the honest truth. Like my son says, whatever blows your hair back.
That's so fun.
Yeah. And again, about coming back to after that mothering phase is over, what does bring us joy? Right? How do I want to spend my time? Right? So
what do I want out of life?
What do I want? So I tap into that very well now. It took me a while. It's a feeling. It's hard to describe, but it's a feeling of, I call it, it's what makes your heart sing. Right? So when you do something that makes your heart sing, that's joy. Right? And then you're meant to share that, whatever way that looks like, whatever that gift is. And you're not meant to have any attachment to the outcome, right? Or how that's going to be accepted, because the joy is in the offering of it. Right? So for me, I just kept I would try things, right? I'll try that twice if I liked it, right? But I tried tons of stuff, took all kinds of classes to determine what made my heart sing, right? So I did things like certified in Reiki, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not
body piercing.
Body piercing. That was, I tell you something, the most fun I ever had. First, and I didn't do it for a long time, and it was very much like fly by the seat of your pants, because I'm also I'm not always grounded, right? So for me to stay grounded is so I'm very impulsive sometimes, where I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll quit my job and go body pierce, which is exactly what I did. I quit a really good job and went and took body piercing training and stuff. And I only did it for about 4 or 5 months, but I've never had so much fun. It was just an absolute hoot. So now when people look at me at my age, and I'll be like, oh, I could have pierced that for you.
So funny.
But
I think your intuition guides you.
It put me where I needed to be.
Always. And your intuition will guide you to your joys.
Yes.
So you have a feeling like I've always wanted to do this, or I've always felt pulled.
Yeah. And it also guides you to people that you're meant to. There's no coincidence. There's divine synchronicity of events, right? So even for me, that body piercing stint didn't last very long because I actually needed to have a real job that paid money. But it put me in the path of some amazing people. My friend William, who I'm very close to, I met him during that time, right? Because he used to come into this tattoo shop that I pierced in, and we started talking. So there's always a reason.
Let me just come back up. Sorry, there was a question that I oh, Joanna. And I'm like you. I encourage my children, like even with dating. Yes, all of it.
Yeah.
Yes, even with dating. Tall, short. How do you know?
Try it all. Yeah.
Yes. How do you know unless
I used to tease my daughters because my daughters were very much, they would get into relationships without dating a whole bunch of people and then be in that relationship. And I would say to them, it needs to be a couch and a coffee, not a bed and a breakfast, right? Like date 5 different guys all at the same time. Figure out how to juggle it, but try everything on for size. Don't just look at one thing, right?
And I had a thought and then it left, Squirrel and Red Bull, when you were talking about, first relationship may not work out, second relationship, we learn from everything, we learn from it. And from observation and doing the work that I do, and as much as I do, I feel like our intuition knows where we are supposed to land. So there's a commonality in some form with each of those.
That's right.
Excuse me, each of those people.
And again, life lessons attached to it as well, right?
Well, if you are not, if you're choosing to ignore where any of those red flags are, so you just keep having those lessons until you get to that stage of not going to anymore.
Yeah.
Joanna is just asking, how do you
find your tribe? Do things, Joanna, that you love, right? Do things. Go join classes. If you want to dance, take a dance class. Go to seminars. Yeah, photography, singing, whatever. Do any of that. Your tribe you'll meet people, because what happens is you start to meet people that are like-minded, and that creates friendships, and then those friendships can turn into tribe. And you can have many different types of people in your tribe. They don't all have to know each other. They don't all have to be friends with each other. That's not what it's about, right?
And they don't even necessarily have to be in person either.
No.
Because one of my closest people is Deb Morse, and she lives in California. And the last time I saw her in person was probably 12 years ago.
But the connection is there, and then you can just expand on it. So for me, the women in my tribe now, I met them all in different ways. But I met them doing things that I loved.
Yeah.
Right.
And letting go of your expectation of what you think it should look like.
Yeah. So, and I always say be fearless too. If you're on your own and you're wanting to, my friend Lynda Earle used to say this to me all the time. She said, "You're fearless." She said, "You amaze me." And I didn't understand what she was talking about. She said, "You go take workshops and you do this and you do all this stuff and you'll go do it by yourself."
Yes.
And I was like, "Yeah, don't you?" And she was like, "No. I would never go take a painting class or a pottery class by myself." And I'm like, "Oh, I would." Right. And because if none of my people wanted to go, then I'd go by myself. I wasn't going to let that stop me, because I'd meet somebody there.
Yeah.
Right. So go try different things. That's how your tribe will find you. Especially if you're authentic. They can't find you if you're not being authentic, because they may not be your people.
That's right.
Right.
Sherilyn is just sharing, it's crazy how living is actually learning. Every day is a lesson. What we would do years ago, we have knowledge not to allow that
back. Absolutely. And that too, what Sherilyn's saying is that we become, once we're awake, you can't go back to sleep.
No.
Right? So once your intuition is strong or pushing you and guiding you, and once you're awake, and I say that your soul has woken up, it's not going to go back to sleep, right? So then you have to actually start dealing with the stuff.
We're just going to read this for our audio listeners. So Sherilyn is sharing, I love that feeling. When you're leaning into your intuition and connecting. I never thought I would ever feel good after losing my baby. I went to classes, body piercing, but that is all healing.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
And it's fun.
Lynda is the maiden lady.
Well, and it's fun, right? But again, that comes from just being fearless. I was told at work that in my 30s shouldn't be getting tattoos. Listen, I just had a tattoo a couple years ago. Don't listen to them.
She didn't. Here's her next response. I responded with, my body is not to
to please
please.
you. Absolutely, Kerrilynn, you got it.
What I found, so I think I was 43 when I got my first one, and it was like 10 hours. It's a full half sleeve.
Well, go big or stay home.
That's right. This is
how we roll. It's how we roll.
And I got a lot of flack as well too. Like I got a lot of flack about this tattoo, but I tried to explain it to a family member who was having a huge issue with this tattoo. That when I looked in the mirror after I got this tattoo, it was like I was seeing myself. I see me, like there was a piece of me that of my story that had been missing.
Absolutely.
And then once I got the tattoo, and then it was just.
And I mean, I have 13 of them. I originally started, I think I got my first tattoo at 28 or 29. I now have 13. It's part of it tells the story of my adventures, basically, because for most of us, our tattoos are deeply meaningful to us, right? They're not just, it's not like it was back in the 50s where you just picked a picture off the wall. They're custom designed.
But some of those are fun too.
Some of those are fun too, but they're custom designed and they're meaning, like everything on my body has very specific meaning, and most of it's words. Like most of my tattoos are words and sayings and things like that, because that resonates for me, right? Oh, Kerrilynn has 13 too, my sister. Yeah, the only thing that stops me from having more now is when I think I have a big one that I'd like covered up, but I think of how painful it is, and I'm like, oh, not today. Maybe not.
I don't know. I just get into a zone with it, with my breathing, and can get into a pretty good zone.
I'm
It's
good
the
with
itching part as it's healing. And I agree, all of them have a different meaning. Even
mine all have different meaning. Yeah.
And again, depending on what your spiritual path is as well too. If you are, a believer of sigils, and you're, creating your own sigil that has your power mantra behind you.
Yeah, I have a unalome tattooed on my arm. I have that saying from Avatar. I have a whole saying down one leg. They all are meaningful to us. It doesn't have to be meaningful to anybody else.
I love that, Sue.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, I got my first one when I was 50. You go.
I have 8 now. So I just want to come back up. I'm really sorry. I just don't want you to feel I'm ignoring you here, Catherine. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for joining us, Catherine. We're actually not giving intuitive messages out we're just having a conversation today. So, but I do appreciate you hanging out and being a part of the conversation.
Hi from Ottawa.
Hi, Christine. Thank you for being here. Lori is just sharing her tattoos.
Special. Yeah, she's got a couple beautiful ones, and they are like I wouldn't have tattoos put on me if they didn't mean something to me, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're, number one, there's time invested in them, and they hurt. Not gonna lie.
Well, and I've always looked at it as an investment as well too.
Yes,
so,
it's real estate. You're buying real estate, really. Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, and if it's funny because you either love them or you don't, right? Like I have 4 children. My youngest 2 have tons of tattoos. My oldest 2 don't have any at all and don't like them. So it's just a difference, right? And the money, yeah, they cost a lot of money now, that's for sure.
If you are just joining in, you are listening to Spirit Switchboard. I'm your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in on the chat and being part of the conversation today. We have my friend and my dear friend, and I'm going to say colleague too, because you are. You do intuitive work. You're inspiring.
Very humbling.
And a teacher, and I know that you're working towards your podcast. We are going to talk about Pachamama in a second as well too. Lynda Earle. So Jessica, thank you for hanging out with us.
I started collecting tattoos
when I was 16, but I didn't have any openly visible till I was in my 40s.
Yeah.
I call it my FU arm because I
Because I
don't
don't
care
care
what
what anybody
anybody
else
else
thinks. You
thinks.
rock, girl.
And
You
it's
rock.
that age
It's the truth.
bracket
Yeah.
again, right? Like you
Yeah.
really do. And I think, that's one of those signs in becoming into that Crone stage is you
Yes.
really have an excellent bullshit meter, and you definitely have no tolerance for what anyone else thinks. Like you just
Yeah,
get to that
we're not
stage,
interested
right?
in other people's perceptions of us. I always say, your opinion of me is
Wow.
none of my business.
Yeah, it
Because
took me a long time to get there too.
oh, it took me a long time to get there. But again, it's because if you don't have that attitude, people that maybe knew you 30 years ago still think you're the same person you were 30 years ago, which is
Yeah,
not
it's
true, right?
mm-mm.
I always say it's like you're still sitting in the lawn chair, same lawn chair you were when you were 17, drinking the same beer. People grow and change and become different all the time. So I'm not interested in somebody's perception of me if they knew me when I was 22 and they don't know me now, because I'm not the same person. I'm a lot different than I was. Be proud your mama, what your mama gave you. That's true.
So you've had many different hats. You've worn
Oh,
a lot
done.
of different hats, and
I've done I've done some of the weirdest, wildest stuff. Like the job I have now, when they interviewed me for the job, the general manager said to me, he goes, "Lynda, you got a pretty impressive resume." And I said, "Yeah, it's kind of wild, isn't it?" And I said, "And there's half the stuff's not even on there. It would take pages." He goes, "Yeah, you've done some really interesting stuff." He said, "My only concern is that you'll be bored in this job." I said, "Oh no, I won't. No, I won't. I'll be fine." But and even my husband will say, "You're fearless. You'll take a
yeah.
job where you don't know." But I always, that was when I really stepped into my intuition and trusted that there was a reason why I was there. It was
Mm.
usually always to do with people, not the actual job. Because to me, the tasks don't matter. I don't have a lot of ego around having to have a title, or, it's not my job to do that. That's not who I am. If you asked me to go clean the bathroom, I would, because I don't care if you're paying me, I'll do it. But it wasn't hard for me to move from job to job because I didn't have any attachment to that kind of stuff. It
Yeah.
didn't matter to me, right? I was always there. I always would know within a day or two of a new job. Like I took a job years ago in a factory. I had never worked in a production factory in my life. I was like a deer caught in the headlights. So the very first day I walk into this automotive factory, I've got my pink suede work boots on, because the outfit's very important, right? And I'm walking through that factory and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? This is way outside of my wheelhouse, right? And then I met my boss and I knew exactly why I was there. I was there for her,
Isn't that
right?
fabulous? But our
Yeah.
intuition does, and if we
Yes,
lean
it told
into
me.
it,
Yeah, it told me that. So yeah.
it's
And
about an experience.
even in my current job now, I love the people, because I'm not attached to a job, a task, right? I'm never the one that says, "Well, I'm not doing that. It's not my job and this is my job and nobody else can do it." I could care less about that. It's the people that determine whether I stay or go. And I told my current job that when they first hired me, because I was in full blown panic mode too. I was taking another job where it was way outside my wheelhouse. I had never worked in an office environment, so it was really different, and I was terrified at first because it's all computer based, so I was having to learn all this technology that I was not super comfortable with at all. But I finally just took a deep breath and said, you know what? I can learn it. It's the people. If the people are ridiculous, I won't stay. Like if the people are nasty and mean and everybody, if are horrible, I'm out of here. So, oh, see, and Heather and I work together, and you are never leaving us.
So you also, which I refer so many people in your direction and use your products as well too. You have Pachamama.
Yeah.
So can you just share a little bit about
How she was born.
yeah, and
Um,
some of the products and the things that you do?
okay. So I started making product probably 15 years ago when I had the flower shop. My youngest daughter at the time was in school. She was going to be a holistic nutritionist. So it was an exciting time because she would share with me a lot of what she was learning in school. And one of the many things that she learned in school was all the carcinogenics that are in skincare products. That fascinated me. that there had to be better stuff out there that didn't have all these harsh chemicals and stuff like that. So I started reading everything and, surfing the internet and practicing, so that I just started making product, and it was all trial and error. I had a lot more errors than I did good stuff in the very beginning, but I just continued to do that, just continued to practice and try new things. And then I did stuff like I took soap making classes so then I could teach soap making. And then it just kind of evolved. And then I launched it I started at first under the heading of Goddess Divine, and then it became Pachamama. And now the same thing. Everything I make is guided by my intuition. If I don't feel guided to make it, then I don't. I don't get trapped anymore into trying to please everybody, which is very easy to do when you have any kind of business that you sell products, right?
Service business.
Yeah, a service business, or if you make jewelry or whatever it is you do, you can't please everybody. So for me, it comes from my spirit. If I'm doing what I am passionate about, again, I don't need to know the outcome. So I don't have to make body lotion in 10 different scents. I tried all that in the beginning. I tried to be everything to everybody. Now, not so much. So I make a lot of pain care. That really is the thing that I'm the most passionate about, I make topical CBD products for pain.
Obliterate,
yes,
is the title of that.
It's
and
obliterate the pain.
And the eczema. Do you just still
do I still
the eczema?
Yep, I do eczema cream. So
it's been the best for my granddaughter.
That's what sparks me, right? When I make when I first started making Obliterate, I made the recipe up and I experimented, right? And my son helped me with it because my youngest son knows a lot about using medicinal weed and CBD and the components and all of that stuff. So I would make a batch and then I would get him to test run it. And then I just kept improving it and upgrading it as I went. But for me, when someone comes back to me and says, Lynda, I bought some of your Obliterate for my dad and his pain is gone, that makes my heart sing. So that's the stuff I do now. If it doesn't make my heart sing, I don't make it. So I make what I like, mostly CBD topicals right now, and I still do a fair amount of soap. And I do candles that I love, like witchy candles full of crystals and stuff like that. So I just do what I love.
Because you also took aromatherapy courses,
and
you are an aromatherapist. And can you share?
That was an accident.
Really?
That was an accident. Well, I took a job again. I took a job working in a natural health store, and I've always been fascinated by natural medicine and plant-based medicine. I'd already been reading about it for 20 years, and then my daughter was in that industry, so I actually went to work in a health food store that she worked in, and the reason they hired me was they wanted to start a DIY section in their store, so they didn't know how to source ingredients. They didn't know anything about it. So my daughter said, well, actually, you need to hire my mom because that's her jam, right? So they hired me. So that was what I was brought in to do, was create this whole DIY aspect of their store and teach workshops and stuff. But the staff kept telling customers that I was an aromatherapist, which was not the truth.
Oh, dear.
So I'm like, oh, geez. So I took the course so that at least I could live up to what they were saying about me. And again, it's stuff that sparks you up, right? I love plant-based medicine. I love that plants can heal us. I've always known that. I've always believed it. So it was natural.
If we look back at the question that Joanna had asked earlier, it's about what you get passionate about. Like, what could you talk to somebody about for hours and then not even realize that hours have gone by?
That's right.
What fuels you?
And if you don't know what it is, that's where you experiment.
That's right.
Right? Read books. I mean, when I started my journey in my late 30s into what I say when your spirit opens up, I read everything I could get my hands on. Right? I read all kinds of books on all different faiths, different religions, different spiritualities. And then I took what resonated for me from each one. So then there really wasn't a label on it, right? But what works for me might be different than what works for you, right?
That's right.
And then it's the same with finding where your joy is and where your passion is. You have to actually do stuff in order to figure out whether or not you have a passion for it. And you'll know when you get that feeling that it's just absolute joy, that when you paint that picture or you cook that food, doesn't matter what it is, that's what you're offering. That's the gift that you're offering, and that's your purpose, right? And then you delete the stuff that doesn't work for you. That's the thing I love the most about being in a crone phase, is I say hit the delete button all the time. I do it all the time. You tick me off on social media, delete. Right? People at work laugh at me because coworkers will come and go, Lynda, did you read that email string? That was nasty. Did you? And I'll go, no, I didn't read it. And they'll say, well, you were included on the email. Why didn't you read it? And I said, oh, because I read the first line and it wasn't anything I needed to worry about. So I deleted it. It's the beauty. You can just hit the delete button and start over.
I want to kiss off with love.
Yeah. Yeah. Just go.
And you're doing it with with bad intention. You're not sending that bad energy out.
No.
Kerrilynn did ask as well too, and Joyce is just asking how they can find your products.
How do you find my products? The CBD products, you can just contact me through Facebook. People come and pick it up from my porch all the time, or if you're far away, I can ship it. The rest of my products that I make, which are varied, because again, it's based on what I'm wanting to do that day. I sell through a store here in Woodstock called the Happy Hippo. They're a wonderful family store, and they have all different vendors with all different products, and they've been amazing to me. So some of my products, my candles, things that I knit, wands, that kind of stuff is in there. I do a lot of other stuff too, but I just don't sell it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure where I'm still waiting to see where that piece is going to go. I do it for me.
Call My Mom got me through that month of being sick.
Yeah. Well, one of the young women that owns the Happy Hippo, the two young women that own the Happy Hippo are just fabulous entrepreneurs, and I love them to death. And they've been so good to me. And Bobby, I was in the store one day, and Bobby's like a walking commercial for Pachamama. So she comes over and she's got a bag of the bath salts. And she said, I don't sleep. She said, I'm 50, Lynda. I haven't slept for the last 10 years. And she said, and I felt like I was dying the other night. I had such a bad cold. So she said, I took your bath salts home. She said, I slept for 12 hours. She said, I swear they're magic. And I looked at her and smiled at her. And she goes, in fact, I know they are because you've told me about that stuff, right? Because she's always asking me questions about being witchy and magical and stuff like that. So she said, I know it's your magic in there, because I had explained to her that everything we do has our energy in it.
That's right.
Our energy. So it's about your intention when you create. So when I create product, when I go down to my workroom, I'm praying that this be received, and assist the person with pain or joy or relaxation or whatever it is they need. That's the intention I'm putting in when I make it. It's never about trying to make money, because the minute you do that, nothing works.
Oh, and the universe shuts you down.
Yep. The spirit just goes, yep, smack, smack. You didn't get the message. Yeah. It's, if you cook a meal for someone and you're angry, your anger's going in that food, right? So she knew that that's how I approached everything, right? So she said, I swear, Lynda, your stuff is magic. Yeah.
And it's our intention. And then
absolutely
letting people know as well too, like when you're using those products, putting your added intention into it amps it up even to another level.
100%. Put your love and prayers into everything you do. And again, when you want to create and find your passion, it doesn't matter what it is. It's about the intention that you do it with. If your life purpose is to feed people because that's what you're passionate about, then do that. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big sparkly stuff. It's not all unicorns and rainbows.
We're not all going to save the whales.
Yeah, and we're not all going to become millionaires.
No. Kerrilynn is just saying that's not too far from me. I'll be stopping by. Thank you very much.
She'll love it. It's a fabulous store. I can't say enough about what a fabulous little store it is for kids. Joyce, very different. Yep.
Joyce is just sharing, I sold natural skincare and makeup products for many years, starting back in the 70s, but the company left Canada years ago.
See, and everything cycles through.
Yeah.
Right. It's becoming a hot trend now. People are, again, with education and awareness, we start to know that we want to get away from products that are full of chemicals and stuff like that. It's about education, right? Yeah. And that what I always educate when I teach anything to do with product making, whether it's body lotion or soap or what have you, is that the stuff that's carcinogenic in natural skincare is preservatives. Yeah. It's what gives it a 100-year shelf life, right? And there are natural preservatives, but they're a lot trickier to play with, and big companies don't want to spend that kind of money, right? So for a lot of people too, using something that's all natural, if it's more expensive, they just won't bother, right? So you have to. Sherry's right. You're right, Sherry. It comes from your energy. I trust my intuition with all of that now. I just make it and see how it goes. Yeah, Heather too.
Sue is just asking again.
It's called the Happy Hippo, and it's in Woodstock. If you Google it, it'll show you exactly where it is. It's kind of in the main hub of downtown Woodstock.
Because Susan, you're on your own journey as well too with making products and exploring that way too, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. And be willing to make mistakes. Like, it took me probably 5 years to figure out body lotion. It was the hardest thing I learned how to make. Joyce is saying her products that company she worked for didn't have any preservatives, which is okay. But the problem is they have 0 shelf life. You know, anything that's made that has water attached to it is going to draw bacteria. So if there's no preservatives in it, it's going to mold within 48 hours, right? But any preservatives that I use are all natural. They come from coconut base. So they're perfectly safe, but they're very expensive. So it comes down to like, what kind of quality do you want? But in terms of people learning to make it, play with it. Play with it.
And it's investing. It's what you feel pulled to invest in.
And I am always, like with Heather that's chimed in a lot tonight, I've basically taught Heather how to make soap over Teams. But I want to do that. Like because she said, you know, Lynda, I'd like to maybe do something like this out in Calgary. I said, absolutely, I want you to. And anything that I can help you with, I absolutely will. Because I'm not worried about hoarding information and not sharing it. There's abundance for everyone. So, you know, everybody that I teach soap making to, I tell them, go make soap, right? Yeah. That's my hope, is that you'll continue to make soap and that you'll love it. And if it's something you're passionate about, then start your own little soap business. I'll help you. Right.
That's
right. I'll help you. I'll give you whatever information I can.
Sherilyn's is showing. Okay, ladies,
I will be visiting the Happy Hippo very soon. Oh, wonderful, Sherry. You'll love it. You might want to leave the kiddos at home, though, the first visit. Or it'll cost you a fortune.
Take care. I wish you ladies. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Sherry.
Joyce is just correcting.
No chemical preservatives. Yeah. Yeah, because there's preservatives out there that don't have all the chemicals in them, but they're more expensive.
The arthritis, it helps.
It does, yeah. And I've ramped it up again. I've switched the recipe just in the last couple weeks, where it has 1,000 milligrams now of CBD THC distillate in it, and I've added 2 more essential oils, so it's even got bigger bang now. Oh, when I go to Woodstock, Julie, to the Raw Rock Shop, my favorite place. I love that store. Very good, Susan.
Susan is just sharing. I also make my own herbal infused oils. Calendula, St. John's wort, and others for topical use.
Awesome.
And you had said something earlier, and it's true, but there's abundance for everyone. So if you were doing something if you were doing something out of lack and fear, you're only going to create more blocks for yourself.
Absolutely,
and it's not going to feel authentic, and it won't jive.
Whatever you're afraid of is what you're going to attract. So when people do this, when they take whatever it is that they're trying to hoard to themselves and hold it to themselves and not share it, they'll get more lack.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so much abundance out there.
So Joyce, I don't have a bathtub either. I just will soak my feet. So
where is Joyce located? Can she tell us that or no?
Brantford.
Okay, so if she ever wants to come to Woodstock, she needs Monsters Be Gone spray. Spray
Yes.
spray your linens and go to sleep. I make a sleep spray.
More than one? You make 2?
I make 3.
Ooh!
So I do Monsters Be Gone. I named it that because it appeals to children. So I always tell parents, if they have children that have a hard time sleeping or have night terrors or bad dreams, spray the room. Let the child do it. Make it a ritual. Spray under the bed, spray in the
That's
closet, get
important.
rid of the monsters, right? But if you spray your linens, it'll help you sleep. My 87-year-old mother uses it all the time. So take a day trip to Woodstock and go check out the Happy Hippo because it's all there.
And the energy clearing.
Yeah, I do your energy clearing, which you use quite a bit. And then I do a sacred smudge. I do a sacred
And I
smudge
have that from
too
you as well too, and it's
yeah.
great.
And it's handy for people that maybe don't like the smell of burning, like they want to smudge, but they don't like the smell of burning sage. Or if they live somewhere where maybe it wouldn't be allowed, it's a quick way to just to honor, right? Because saging is all about prayers and cleansing and things like that. So it's just a quick, easy way to do it for someone that maybe can't burn the sage. But I like ritual. I like doing the whole
For
thing.
sure.
Right?
But for me, especially when I do events, so I have one in the office,
Yeah.
one in my car. Like I keep,
Yeah.
I take it with me in the car so that when I'm done events,
Yeah.
I'm
Just
not
clears
bringing
your
it
energy.
in the
Yeah.
car or like before I even get in the car, before I drive
Yeah.
home. So
And again, it's the intention. My intention in that spray is
yeah,
that it clears you of negativity, especially people that do light work, right?
yeah.
Because you're a sponge and you can suck up everybody else's junk. It's a quick, easy way. And that's the intention I put in when I make it, is that this is meant to clear that energy so that you're not the sponge that carries around everybody else's stuff, right? The same with the sleep spray, so that it allows people peaceful sleep, especially children, right? So it's whatever intention you put in, it's going to have that effect, right? Oh, Danny used to buy it for her son. Yeah, the Monsters Be Gone.
Yeah. So she's
Yeah,
just saying it was so helpful for my son.
yeah. My grandson still uses it, and I told his mom and dad, let him spray. Let him spray under the bed. Let him spray in the closet because he's in fear, right? So that's how you calm all that stuff down.
And so if we kind
You
of come
inspire me, Lori.
if you kind of bring that back into our intent for our conversation today, this is about starting in those early ages
Yeah,
and empowering each other through conversation, through
that's right.
ritual, through
Yeah, through
creativity,
education,
and
through
moving that.
sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah, through
we are
sharing
sharing.
what you know how to do, right? And I'm a big on that. And I mean, I think I probably had a time in my life, especially when I had the flower shop, that I wasn't as much like that as I learned to be later on because you're living in fear, right? So fear and love can't reside in the same space. And if everything you're doing is based in fear, you're just going to bring more of it,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Whereas if you look at it and go, okay, well, I'm just going to do what I do and we'll see, right? And you
And it
trust
doesn't
that.
it doesn't mean that once you get into a flow that you won't have fear. You just
Oh, you can.
don't sit in it
You
as
don't
long,
sit
and you
in it,
put
you
your
come out of
tools
it.
to work.
That's right. And it's
And
the
it's
same as you can be negative, or we can all have negative times. Like I said, life is not unicorns and rainbows all the time.
no.
Sometimes it's nitty-gritty, dirty, and we don't have to be, all loving kindness all the time because we also have darkness as well. And it's okay to feel really crappy about what somebody did to us. We don't need to stay in it,
No.
right? And we eventually need to go high, but it's okay to go low first, right? Get it out of your physical body, vent it out, get rid of it, and then elevate yourself back up, right?
Mhm.
But if you don't trust that kind of stuff, then you'll just bring more lacking. I know when I had the flower shop for the first solid year, I was just a vibrating person full of fear because I was afraid. This was a brand new business. I had never started a business. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was green as grass. I was a great floral designer, but I didn't know how to run a business. So I was flying by the seat of my pants. And I had a wonderful friend. She said to me one day, she said, Lynda, what's your greatest fear? She said, and she was dying at the time. She was terminally ill. And she said, because I've met mine. She said, have you met your greatest fear? I said, I think I know what it is. She goes, what is it? I said, I'm afraid that I'll fail. She goes, dig a little deeper. And it was like a light bulb went off, and I looked at her and I said, "I'm afraid I'll succeed." She said, "Yes, it comes with great responsibility." I
Mhm.
never worried a day after that, right? I would stand in the flower shop in the morning sometimes and pray, right? Because business is always dicey. So I would stand in the center of the flower shop with my arms up, and I would say to the creator, if I am meant to be here, if this is the work I am meant to be doing
Yeah.
today, I need, and I would be very clear, I need at least $2,000 by the end of the
Yes.
day to pay my rent or better. I always would tag on
Or
or
better.
better,
And
right?
thank you very much.
And thank you. And it
Yeah.
never, ever failed that
It's true.
within, and I mean, I would be at that point, there might not be any money in the bank to pay the rent that day. And it would never fail. I would get a bunch of orders on the phone that would put money in the bank. Corporate accounts would pay their bills. A bride
Mm.
would come in and pay for a wedding. Whatever it happened, the money was always there. So I never worried about it after that. I knew that it would
Exactly.
go wherever it was meant to go. Right. And that the success, everybody always asked me if my flower shop was successful. I said it was a huge success. Didn't make a lot of money, right? We had years where we made a lot of money and years where we didn't. But was it
Yeah.
successful? It was a huge success because of the path that it put me on, because that
Right.
was when my spiritual path really started. Because I had a metaphysical flower shop, probably the only one in the area that like people eyebrows went up, right? Because when I first took over the shop, I tried to be a typical florist.
Oh.
Right? So, yeah, so I ordered
That was a
home decor stuff and all of that. All of it tanked, right? I had all this beautiful home decor, couldn't sell it, couldn't give it away. So my youngest daughter said to me, she goes, "So what are you gonna do now?" I said, "I'm gonna build the dream," because I had had a vision. I had seen the shop in a dream. So I said, "I'm gonna build the dream." She said, "Are you worried about what people think?" I said, "I don't care." So the vision I had was this beautiful etherical flower shop that had a big pond in it and a waterfall, and that there were fairies and angels and books and decks and herbs and gems and crystals. So I built the dream, and it was a huge success. It eventually took over the flowers, right? So
what
trust it.
age? Can I ask you how
How
old
old
you
I
were?
was? 43.
Crazy,
That's
right?
why I was laughing when you said at 43, and I'm like, "Well, I told you my life changed dramatically at
Yeah.
43." And I never gave it, and I had different people because my shop was in a very small town. So, there were a lot of raised eyebrows about this witch in the flower shop and the stuff she was doing. And I had different business people come in and say, like, I had one guy stand in my shop one day and he goes, "Do you really think this junk's gonna sell?" And he's doing this, with his hands. And I said, "I don't care if it does or not. I'll do me, you go do you."
Yeah.
Right? And I never explained myself to people after that or what I was doing. And I would even have customers say to me, "I've been in your shop, dozens of times and never noticed this stuff before. Why didn't I notice?" And I said, "Because you weren't ready yet.
Not ready.
But when
That's
you
right.
were ready, you saw it." Right? So, yeah, you have to, and you trust that. So I've trusted that ever since. That was the beginning of really trusting my own intuition and then building and learning on that. Right? And always being open to change. I'm always open to changing my mind.
But
Always.
that's the one constant. That's the one
Yes.
thing that we can depend on is that it's
Yeah.
everything is always going to change.
Oh, absolutely. To not change means we get stuck,
Mhm.
right? Because change can't occur inside of our comfort zone. In order to have real change in our life, we have to step outside of our comfort zone, right? So if you look at firing an arrow at a target, if you turn the arrow even just a couple of millimeters, the arrow is going to go in a totally different direction.
Yeah.
It's the same in our lives, but that won't happen if we don't change that direction or step outside of our comfort.
And I think, I tell people all the time, it's like a choose your own adventure story, right? We've
Yeah,
got all these potential outcomes and
yeah,
you just need to lean in and jump. Like
yeah.
just
I always say, take a flying leap of faith. You'll never hit the ground because,
yeah.
right? Even like in personal things, take a leap of faith. We won't let you fall. The people
Yeah.
that love you and care for you will never let you hit the ground, right?
That's right.
You might fall and scrape your knees, but it'll never be that earth shattering. Don't stay trapped in the fear.
And it's trusting that your divine team always has your back and they will
Oh yeah,
lead you if you lean in. And when they see that you're paying attention, they give
yeah,
you more. So
yeah.
you just keep
Maya,
trusting.
yeah, you have to. Maya Angelou, I can't remember the name of the poem, but Maya Angelou wrote the most beautiful poem, and that's exactly what it's about. It's about walking a path and taking your suitcases, and that if that path doesn't work out, that without shame or embarrassment, you
Yeah.
pick up your luggage and you go a different way. And you may do that over and over and over again, because that's what life is, right?
Yeah.
And that's the honest truth. That's where all the adventure is. And pick your attitude. Every day is a brand new day. Pick
Yeah.
your attitude. Who do I want to be today? Who am I presenting to the world? Because
Yeah.
I can
How
be
are you
anybody
going to
I
show
want.
up?
How am I showing up, right? Because I can go to another city and pretend to be a neurosurgeon if I want to.
So I just want to add to that, though. It is making sure when you are showing up that your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions, you are showing up authentically,
That's right. Yep.
because those of us who are energetically sensitive will be aware, like will feel if you are
Oh, yeah.
not
You
showing up
bet.
authentically.
That's
And
right.
you are fooling yourself if you think that the first thing that shows up is your physical body, because
Yep.
it's not.
It's
Your
not.
energy shows up first, your
Yep.
thoughts show up first, and
That's
the
right.
body comes in
Your
next.
body
So
comes in last, and even the way that you carry your body,
yeah.
it's how that shows up too. And you don't have, if you're having a bad day, it's okay to have a bad day.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
like I said, it's not all rainbows
No.
and unicorns. And it's okay to feel negative when somebody's done something, because we're human too, right? As much as I shield up, like when I know I'm going to be in a space where there's a lot of negativity flying around, my shields are up, but
Yeah.
I can still interact with those people, but I'm also human. So there's times I can get caught up in it,
Yeah.
which is okay too. We don't need to beat ourselves up for that. We need to go, you know what? I caught it quicker that time. Right. And then shake it off. Shake it
This
off
is
and go,
it.
okay, yep, I got sucked into that gossip session and I shouldn't have done that, but I caught myself a lot quicker and I walked away, because it's all still, we're works in progress, right? And we're human.
Right. I encourage people to pay attention, like from the time that you have that experience that
Yeah.
triggers you, or you're sitting in
What
that
was
that hurt
happening?
or wound or
Yep.
whatever
What's
was
going
going
on
on.
around you? Yeah.
And you
Where
put
did it
those
come from?
tools into place. As
Yep.
long as you see that time period getting shorter each time, then you're doing great.
You're doing great. Yeah. Because when we're interacting with other people too, like I always try to look at a whole person, and I don't need to know that person's story. So, it
Yeah.
could be that I work with someone who's not very nice and very negative. I could spin that all whatever way I wanted. Or I could say, you know, I really like this and this about this person, but I also understand they're going through some difficulties. And it's not my business to know what those things are. I need to have
Yeah.
compassion for it. I
That's
don't have to
right.
hang out. I don't have to hang out with them,
Yeah.
right? But I can still be compassionate and kind, because we don't know what battles anybody else is fighting. It's not our business, and we don't need to know to be kind.
No.
We don't need to know what it is in order to be kind. We still need to respond with kindness. And we can do that authentically,
Yeah.
right? Because when we are authentic, I had some stuff happen this morning, and a big thank you to Michelle McMahon, because she was there for me at lunch. And I mean, I was mad, right? So I was just spewing stuff. And here's Michelle. She sits and she listens. And at the end of it, I said, I'm so sorry. Like, I've taken up your, you've come and met me for lunch, and I've taken up your whole lunch hour with my stuff. And she, not a problem, Lynda. It's okay. And that's
Yeah.
because we're being authentic. It's okay that some days aren't perfect, and it's okay to spew about it. And it's okay to be
Yeah.
mad too, but we don't
To
need to
the
stay
right
in that
person,
space long term. Yeah.
to our
And
people.
like you said, when it gets shorter and shorter that you spend time in that
Yeah.
space, you're healing, right? I say it's like standing in the fire, because when we're doing real hard healing work, we're standing in a bonfire, and it bloody well hurts, right? Really, really bad. And most people will jump back out and go, "Ooh, I healed that. I feel better now." We have to stand in it until we feel it, because we have to own our piece of it, right? If it's stuff that's happened in our adult lives, not as children, we're victims of our parents until we're of age that we can take care of ourselves. So things that
That's right.
happen to us as children are never on us. It's on the adults who did those things, right? But as adults, when we're doing our own healing work, we have to look at what part we played in the drama.
Mhm.
What part did I play in that? I used to
It's
do it all the time where if
accountability, right?
yeah, anything that keeps me awake at night, there's something I have to own, and I know that, right? Like if I've gone to work, I still remember working in this same factory that I talked about earlier, and there was all this drama going on, right? Because they wanted me within the first couple weeks that I worked there to be an online trainer. Well, there was a couple other ladies that worked there that were really angry that I got that job, which I was very well qualified for, by the way, but they were being really nasty and stuff at work. And it was keeping me awake at night. And then it clicked and I said, okay, I have to own my piece in the drama, which is that I allowed them to carry this on for such a long time, like playing this game. The game stops, right? The minute you own your piece of the behavior, you can go back to sleep, right?
This is true.
Yeah.
So I just was hesitating, Lori, before I put this up. So you do have plans, and it's in the work for your own podcast as well, too.
Yes, it's still ruminating.
It is ruminating.
It's ruminate. I like to ruminate a lot.
Yes. So that's okay, but that's what your winter season, right? We talked about that.
That's right.
So in this winter season, that's what we do. Is we make plans and go with it.
Well, and you learn. It's about the beauty of the winter season, which is the season of the crone too, right? It's about gathering wisdom. It's about learning. Winter is the best time for anyone to take classes, take workshops, explore things, because the weather, be creative, because the weather keeps us inside more, especially if you're like me and I hate the cold. But that's a good time to gather all of that kind of knowledge, right? So we'll launch it in the spring, because I need my husband's help with it because of my lack of technical skill. So my husband will produce it because he's my tech wizard. So hopefully, with all things being said, we'll launch it in the spring. And I want to do the same thing as what we're doing right now. Right?
Having conversations with people.
I want to have conversations with people that interest me, and everybody interests me.
Right?
So I already have a big long list of guests and who I want to talk to. And that's all I want, is that we have conversation, and it has to be filled with laughter, because if it's not fun, there's no point in doing it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I just want to thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for being
I'm so glad you asked me. I'm very honored and humbled that you consider me a colleague. And I'm your biggest fan, and you're my biggest fan, and that's why we're tribe, right?
That's right. So much, though. I just adore you in every way.
And me, you know that. You know how much I love you.
Thank you, everybody that participated with the conversation, that joined in with the show, asked questions, and shared your thoughts and your comments. I appreciate that all of you, help make the show what it is. I appreciate all of you, and thank you so much to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. Next week on the show, I have Eric Mintel. He has Eric Mintel Investigates, and he's going to be coming on talking about all kinds of different investigations. Ghosts, paranormal, UFOs, UAPs.
All the good stuff.
Sasquatch, which is my jive. Thank you so much, everybody. So we will see you here next week, and thank you so much again, Lynda.
Thank you, and thank everyone that joined in.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.